Please put your hands together for Jenn Michelle.
I'm laying in my tent in the woods, surrounded by the sounds of many other people having orgasms. And that's when I begin to have an existential crisis and think, what the fuck am I actually doing here? I was at an ecosexual, sex-positive, polyamorous summertime campout called Surrender. On my way to Surrender, I thought, anything's possible. You know, maybe I'll fall in love, hopefully have sex with a few strangers, maybe go to my first orgy, at the very least, dance in the woods naked with a bunch of witchy women. None of that was really happening for me. Instead, I got there and I was nervous, a little further out of my comfort zone than I thought I might be, was by myself, kind of felt insecure, not pretty enough, not cool enough to be there. So I was having a different experience. And so as I lay there listening to the sounds of orgasms, I was happy for them, but it wasn't happening for me. I thought, yeah, so why am I here? Let's think about that. Maybe I came here to be with myself in a different way, to work on these things, my insecurities, boundaries, what I like and don't like. Yeah, that sounds right. So I fell asleep, kind of made sense to me, and I woke up in the morning and I felt kind of renewed and more comfortable because I thought, I'm here for myself. And so I went to some workshops, and after lunch, I went and checked out the big calendar for what was happening the rest of the day. And one of the workshops kind of jumps out at me, and it's called self-love. And I thought, yeah, that makes total sense. That's why I'm here. So I head over to the area where self-love is going to be taught, and there's this beautiful earthy woman standing out front and of where we're supposed to meet, and she says, you know, we're going to just wait right here for a little bit for other people, and then we're going to head over to Lilith's forest. And Lilith's forest is what I call the fuck forest, which is where in the festival you could fuck out in the open once you attended a 3-hour consent class and got a wristband. And that's... It's true, I know. And that's where the orgasms were coming from the night before. So she said, we're going to head over there once everyone's kind of here. And then this woman that I become kind of friendly with says, oh, Jenn, come over here and stand by me. And she's holding this big roll of blankets. And I was like, well, it's chilly, but not that chilly. And then I look down in her other hand, and she's holding a vibrator. And then I kind of pan out, and there's like 20 or so people there. A few women are holding vibrators, maybe a couple of mirrors. And then I kind of connected the dots, and I was like, fuck forest, vibrators, self-love, holy shit. We're going to masturbate together. Okay, so we head over to the fuck forest, and she directs us to this canopy and these big gymnasium mats. And she says to all of us, get a yoga mat, get in a circle and face each other. And the whole time I was like, okay, I can do this, you know? And no big deal. And so then, you know, we get in the circle, and she starts talking about pleasure, and that oftentimes in our society, we mistake things like possession and status and consumption as pleasure. But pleasure is really based in the body, and it's, you know, tasting, smelling, hearing, touching, and that we don't slow down enough to really feel pleasure and what that means. And even further, we don't really give ourselves pleasure. And so, you know, just to verify, she said we're going to masturbate together in this circle, and I was like, okay, yeah, here we go. It's gonna happen. So then she goes over some rules, you know, like you can have roving eye contact, don't hold gaze with anyone, don't touch anyone else. Try to stay in the circle if you can. There's some lube, there's some Kleenex. I have a playlist. We're gonna go 45 minutes. That seems like a really long time. But that's okay. And so then she says, we're gonna go in the circle and say our name and an intention. And I'm thinking, well, my intention is usually pretty clear. Like A to B, you know, maybe the reason I'm masturbating is changing. I can't sleep, or I'm horny and don't have anybody to fuck, you know, or I have a headache, but okay, what's my intention, you know? And so I kind of went back to like, why am I here? And I remembered I was there to be with myself in a different way. And then I started thinking further, when I masturbate, I don't treat myself the way that I treat other lovers. And I don't slow down and be with myself in a loving way. And so as people are going around the circle and it finally gets to me, I just say, I'm Jenn, and I intend to love myself like a lover. And then I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But okay. So I just start saying it in my head, and then she's like, let's begin. And so I try not to cheat, but I did kind of turn my back to everybody and stayed in the circle. And that woman with the blankets had given me a couple, so I kind of strategized. I'm just going to get under the blankets. And I lay down, and I take all my clothes off, and I look up, and I keep saying to myself, love yourself like a lover. Love yourself like a lover. And it had been really wet and chilly the day before. It was finally warming up. And the sun was breaking through the trees and kind of on my face. And I thought, okay, well, if I'm with a lover, I might start by touching their face. So I touched my own face. And I was like, oh, that's nice, And then I touched my neck, and then I smelled my own hair. And then I went down to my collarbones, and I was like, collarbones always turn me on. Boy, I have a collarbone, And then I went down to my arms, and I was like, my arms are kind of strong, And then I touched my boobs, and I was like, my boobs are super cute, so. And then I rubbed my boobs, and then I came down, to my hips and kind of squishing my body, and that felt really good. And then I got to my belly, and I got a little critical, and I was like, and then I was like, no. Love yourself like a lover. You wouldn't do that to someone else. And then I just kind of moved down, and I started thinking about how I do with lovers, that, I'm attracted to people based on who they are as a person. So what they've been through, what they've survived, how they deal with shit, if they're kind or not, those things. And I started thinking, I'm really awesome, and, I am really strong and resilient and all these things. I'm also masturbating at a sex festival with, I came here by myself. That's really rad, And so I start to move down to my pussy, and then, the rest of what's happening starts to kind of break into my consciousness, and I hear other people, and then I hear this one woman who I'm guessing was in her 20s having a lot of really end-to-end orgasms really loud, and I got kind of judgy and was like, that's a little performative, don't you think? And then I was like, don't do that. And then, I would open one eye, and I'd see some really attractive people and some big cocks out, and I'd be like, okay. And then I kind of had to do with myself how I would with a lover, listen, right here, you and you. Nobody else counts, And so I got back in my zone, and I just kind of went back to myself and, focused on the air and my breathing and just taking it all in. And then I reached down between my legs, and I was super wet. And I took one hand and was fingering myself in the other hand and was rubbing my clit, and I just let go. And it's like everyone else and everything else kind of disappeared. And I was having this real moment of love for myself. And I just kept going. And then I could hear my breath change. And one thing led to another. And I had one of the best orgasms of my entire life. Thank you. And then it was so different. It was cathartic, and it lasted longer, and it just felt so different. So as I started to kind of come out of it, I started to giggle, and I felt really accomplished and, proud. And I just laid there, and basked in all of it and in the glow of it. And as I lay there, I realized, yeah, this is why I came here. I came here to be with myself in a different way, and to realize that there's so many times in my life with partners that I have accepted way less love, communication, affection, that I give, and that's not okay. And never again is that going to happen, and this is the moment that changed.
Jenn Michelle!